When one of the opposition players receives a red card, it is supposed to be a moment of celebration. A simple numbers game and increased ability to manufacture overloads all over the pitch should be the exact moment where a game is won and lost, but in the modern game this is not the case anymore, and I'm about to tell you why. Where once elite football turned up their noses at the 4-4-2, viewing it as too rigid, too British and too naive, now it is a system that many partially flock to, the key being partially. Football is more layered now, more forensic, and almost every team at every level adapts to the game states, with it being even as fluid as being in or out of possession. The compact nature of two banks of four makes it an attractive formation in an out of possession situation, so with that in mind it makes a perfect mode to deploy when you've had the misfortune of going down to 10 men. First off, one focal point remains at the top of the field, which is largely how most teams play from the start, with the most popular formations today being the 4-2-3-1, the 3-4-3 and the 4-3-3. Your base of two banks of four remains untouched, which allows for a compactness in the middle of the pitch, and therefore nothing really changes between the defensive and the midfield lines. The width of the team with one fewer player remains the same as well, incredibly narrow and compact. Usually when an elite team deploys a 4-4-2, the areas they give up space in is of course the channels, leaving short gaps between each defender, each midfielder, and between the defensive and midfield lines. This leaves intricate football in between the lines from central areas incredibly hard, and so it's going to be incredibly hard for the opposition to work the ball through the centre of the pitch if you have a regimented and organised two banks of four. With areas out wide looking most feasible, it becomes fairly likely that the team attempting to attack the 4-4-2 will have to rely on crosses from out wide, but they will need a superior attacker against a robust pair of centre halves. Goals from these types of situations, thanks to better positional play from the defenders in the back line, as well as the use of aerially dominant centre backs, means that these type of goals have been on the gradual decline for years. Using an example from recent times was a gutsy if unsuccessful performance of Liverpool away against Tottenham in September 2023. Curtis Jones received a straight red as early as the 26th minute, and although Heung-min Son didn't take long to net a goal, it was only the controversial decision through VAR that led to Curtis Jones' red card, which is why Tottenham were able to take the lead. Despite the concession of a goal, Liverpool continued to line up in a formation that demanded two banks of four, with a focal point of Cody Gakpo up front. As opposed to a desperate lumping of the ball, Liverpool maintained their patient and incisive passing approach, and soon found their equaliser through their focal point Gakpo before the first half was out. A switch of play followed by a knockdown before a brilliantly swivelled finish from the Dutchman was a quintessential goal scored by a Jurgen Klopp team. It was scarcely believable that Liverpool were playing with 10 men. Unfortunately, Gakpo suffered an injury in the act of scoring and was replaced by Diogo Jota at half time. This allowed the fresher Mo Salah to act as the lone front man, and the pair of Jota and Luis Diaz ran the channels in the attempt of finding a sucker punch on the counter and putting Liverpool back level. If anything, Liverpool were the stronger of the two sides either side of half time, with 10 men, and this was because out of possession they maintained an incredibly compact two banks of four defensive shape, but you also need every player on the pitch, particularly in the midfield line, to do their defensive duties, and that was the key to Liverpool's success with 10 men. And so because Tottenham had a hard time playing through the lines, their main chances were restricted to long-range shots, with James Maddison trying a curling shot from around 20 yards, which was faulted just like Heung-min Son's chance a few minutes later by Alisson Becker in goal, who put in a terrific goalkeeping performance. And that's another thing that you need when playing with 10 men. You need your goalkeeper to go up a level or two, as it's almost certain that at some point in the game when you're playing with 10 men, the opposition will eventually receive a big chance, and if you have the sort of goalkeeper that Liverpool do with Alisson, that can actually save you a goal or two throughout this type of situation. Unfortunately for Liverpool, however, Diogo Jota would see 2 yellow cards, seeing him also receive a red and putting Liverpool down to 9. And Liverpool's response to this was to drop even deeper, bringing on the height and the aerial dominance of Ibrahim Konate at the centre of defence, something which makes a lot of sense because if you are sitting very deep and compact, the opposition are going to have space in wide positions, and as I said before, this is going to allow them to put more crosses into the box, and so you want central defenders or even fullbacks as well who can deal with these sort of aerial challenges. In the end, only a drilled cross from Pedro Porro diverted into his own net from Joel Matip on the 96th minute could split the two teams. The football that people call Ange ball is a good method of football, but it's not quite the nirvana of Pep Guardiola's Barcelona from around the 2010 period. For the classical method of how to play with 10 men, you don't need to look any further than Jose Mourinho's masterclass at the Camp Nou in the Champions League semi-final as Inter Milan manager. Thiago Motta was shown a red card on the 28th minute, and it was supposed supposed to be only a matter of time before the best team in the world and reigning champions of Europe would overturn a 3-1 deficit from the first leg in front of their own fans. As any side playing with 10 men should, Inter started playing for time, with their methods becoming increasingly infuriating for a Barcelona team who needed a 2-goal triumph on the night to progress to the final. Mourinho quickly adopted 2 banks of 4, but given the freedom of Lionel Messi combined with the midfield trident of Xavi, Sergio Busquets and Andres Iniesta, settled on a defensive 4 combined with a midfield 5. Samuel Eto'o was shifted to the wing and Diego Milito also dropped back into the midfield line in an attempt to strangle the game. And it worked as Barcelona was stifled by a strong Inter team, who only conceded 7 minutes from time, which didn't prove terminal in their treble hopes, winning 3-2 in aggregate before defeating Bayern Munich in the final. Football is all about the small margins and tiny gains on the opposition. The sport as a whole is getting more intelligent to different scenarios, and whether it's working on game state situations in training, simply playing for a point, or tactically trying to outmaneuver an upwardly mobile opposition, football matches are harder than ever when playing against 10 men, and if you incorporate some of these methods that I've talked about in relation to Inter Milan, as well as Liverpool, it's going to make it a lot easier, keeping your defensive shape compact and forcing the opposition out wide, sitting deeper to reduce the spacing behind your backline, having a goalkeeper who's on the top of his game, as well as aerially dominant centre-backs, as well as running down the clock when it's appropriate, are all example of those small marginal gains that can be so important when you are playing with 10 men. So thank you for watching. If you enjoyed that video, remember to subscribe to the channel, check out some of our others, give the video a like and put your thoughts in the comments section as well.